Attempting to make this work the first time, so we'll see how far it goes. Okay, well here's a sheet that I have pulled up, and check my mic here, volume. Okay, good enough. Anyway, here's just a little something I made up. You know, it's fancy, but it's not fancy. You know, some people already have this thing, I'm sure. They do it on pencil and paper, whatever. This just makes it easy. It's, you know, like a Google Sheet or Microsoft Office, what's it called? Uh, I don't remember what it's called. Excel. Yeah, spreadsheets. So you can see numbers and things that I've already put in here. I'll try to move the little box around. Okay, you can see my cursor here around this blue box, what we want. I'll move it up here to the left hand side. Just made a category: deadhead miles, loaded miles, and then back to origin. Depending on if you go to a place where you know you're not going to be able to find a load back. This is mainly for the load board, just keep your company stable, and you know what rate you have to at least, you know, break even. You know, you can use it for all kinds of stuff. Projections, even if you wanted to project, you know, where you want to be, kind of set goals for yourself. It's really just a little tool to, you know, make it possible to think ahead and plan. This might be great for dispatchers, self-dispatchers, a whole variety of different services could come off of this little tool. But what I've done here is I've taken out the numbers here. I'm going to start with this E9 box. And I labeled it as starving. You know, that's like right before your company starts to fail. So what you need to do to begin with is you need to know your numbers. You need to know how much your costs are, and then, you know, whatever those numbers are that you include. You know, if you have to have $10 a mile, you know, to pay yourself $10 a mile, then your operational cost or your costs to operate, you know, whatever that number is let's say 3. You know, these are exaggerated numbers, and they're not realistic for a reason, because everyone's different. You know, if you have a brand new truck, if you have a paid off truck, you know, all those costs are going to be different. So you have to find those numbers first. And so, you know, with the example, it'd be $10. You pay yourself $10 a mile, every mile, and then $3 a mile, you know, is what it costs to, you know, run the company or whatever. So that would be $13 a mile that you would put in your starving category. Whoops. Let's do this. Let's undo here. Let's see if it'll undo for me. It won't, so I'll have to put starving back in there. Anyway, now I'm down to E10 is the box. So that would be $13 a mile. Well, let's be a little bit less, crazy, I guess. Let's just do something simple like put $1 there, $2 here, $3 here. And I don't know if you can see what I've done already is I've already, done the little spreadsheet or whatever and put some different formulas, whatever you want to call them, in. So you'll see when I put this to $4, you'll see when I put the $4 in there, these numbers will change. And I can't remember what other numbers change, but they change other places as well. So I'll put a 4 in there and then I'll select enter and you'll see those numbers change. So here we'll put 5. I'm tabbing over 6, tab over 7. What this tool will do is, let's say if you work with someone and you leave an area and you have to get back, and in order to get back, the rates are really low, or that you're going into an exactly dead area where there's 0 loads, coming out. Well, that's what this does. It helps blend or each load. It tells you with both loads, the one going in and the one coming out, what your total would be for that, out and back trip. People do triangles and everything else. This is just a little simple thing. So let's just use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I labeled them, starving, stable, growing, anticipated is, probably what you are anticipating the rate to be. What we want, if you want to think of it as, what you really want to have per mile, and then, great job and spectacular. So, just a few things there. So what happens here is let's see, I'm trying to remember what I put into the formula or function box there. So you can add these boxes together, C2 through C4. It gets a little complicated for some people that haven't been exposed to the Excel. So I don't really know how much I'm going to do at the moment, but yeah, I'll just kind of show you the gist of what it is, and then maybe I can rework a few things here and there and show what those formulas are and how to pull them up. Here's an example. You always hit the equal sign, and then like this box, you want to add it all up. Well, see, that's the problem. That's the problem when you put equals in there. It changes something. So if you wanted to, duplicate this, sum equals, adding. So you just come over and you type equal, and then sum. And all these things you can learn, and there are many. I took a class on it anyway, but this one's a simple one. So you just sum, and then if you want to sum this box and this box together, you just left click and drag it over, and then you can see how it puts the cells in E10 and F10. Hit enter and it'll say 3. So it's basically a calculator. So we'll delete that because it doesn't need to be there. So all that is adding all these up. Okay, and then the rate range is what you want, all the time based on your numbers. And then you have the rate range, and then this is with the last load. I labeled them. So currently, based on $1 a mile in the starving category, you had deadhead miles of 100, loaded miles 636 and a half. Back to origin, I'm going to change it from 0 and say you have to go back to where you came from exactly. So that'll equal 636 and a half plus 100. So it'll equal the 736 and a half. But that'll change after I do that. No, let's do it simpler. Instead of adding the deadhead miles, I don't know the scenario. Let's just use the loaded miles as back to origin. That might make more sense, but so when you add something there and you press enter, you'll see the 736 will change because you added all those up, and then you'll see all these other numbers change here as well. So now you have to have $1,373 to be starving if you are in this scenario here. Okay, now you'll see the calculations, product is just multiplying. So what it says here, I'll just give you a description. The product up here in this function bar, you have to type in equals and then product, and it'll come in up. And what you do is you left click. In this case it's C6. There's C right here, and 6 is right there. So that's the total. And then I'm going to give you a little idea of what this $sign means. The $sign means C6 stays when you drag the box. When you drag this box across all these, it stays C6, but it changes E10, F10, each box. So I'll show you right here. If you want to watch this E10 change when I move over to F10, you'll see how everything's the same except for as it changes, and that's all that little $sign does. So you either already know that or you've never seen that before, one or the other. But that's all it is. That's what that little $sign means. So you can kind of make a computer out of, you can kind of make your own calculators up, and this is why this is such a valuable tool. You can make these little things up and just plug in a couple numbers, and boom, you have all your information. It's like an algorithm. It's like whatever, linear math and calculus, functions, and all the complicated stuff or the real simple stuff. And it's it's one way or the other. It's either crazy complicated or really simple. And so I'm just trying to give a quick overview and just kind of keep it simple or whatever. Alright, so that explains that part. The with the last load is nice because given this scenario here, when you're just starting without coming from another load, if you have to go back, if you have to drive 100 miles to get there to get a 336.5 mile run, and then you have to come straight back to pick up your next load, then that's that scenario there. And if you already have your numbers, I'm reiterating, but if you already have your numbers, I'm saying it again or whatever, if you already have your numbers that you know that you have to have, or else you're, going to fail, you can determine what these numbers are yourself on your own operation. So I'm just using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 because the further we go, the better we want to get. And you can refine those numbers. If you want 10% growth, then that'll be $1.10, or wait, let's see. If you're starving, that means you're getting ready to fail. Stable, maybe that's the number that you should have at all time. And then if you want to add some, growth into your company, let's say you want to do 10% or something, then that would be $2.20. And let's say each one you want to add 10%, those are all goals that you can do for yourself and set these up. I mean, that's how you keep your company performing. But the nice thing, I need to get back to this last load before I get off topic here. The last load is what your last load was, and it will calculate for you a few different things here. You put in your deadhead miles that you had to go to get to your last. This one 288, and you have a loaded miles, and then this number really is no good. That was probably just a number I stuck in there. And then let's say the rate was $12.50, then that means your rate per mile was $3.39 for this particular load. Well, what happens here is your last load category, you have this number generated for you. So let's say this was your last load's performance was 339.67, basically 340, then that means that load alone was growing or anticipated, somewhere in between. Well, if you look up here to your next load, and this is your next load that you have to drive back all these scenarios, then that means that you had to have 1373 to be starving just to move that load. Well, if you include your last load in order to get to starving, you only had to get $123 for that same load to still be starving. So basically what you want is, if you're going to be, let's just say growing, that load by itself, if you only look at the load by itself, you would have had to have had $4,119 for a 636.5 mile load. Well, if you include the last load, you only have to have $2,869 for a 636.5 mile load. So I don't know what that rate would be, so that'd be, let's just say 728, what is that, 4? So that maybe that one's tracking at about $4 a mile. That's a little bit more reasonable than whatever this one is. So you can, that, I don't know if you'd say reasonable, but yeah. With all the other things, I guess $7 a mile isn't out of question. So that gives you a good scenario, good overview. And again, I hope this turns out well. I hope it helps someone. It's what I'm playing with. You can see, you can add colors and little boxes. I mean, you can come over here and put yourself a little box around each one if you wanted to snazz it up. If you want to add colors, change it from that to that, to tell yourself something quicker. Well, let's see. Did I change it? I thought I did. Oh, that's just the typing or border color. All right. Well, anyway, I'll put that one back there. So I'll just come over here to the fill. I'll fill it and make it red. Well, sorry, that's what it was. I need to do that. I put that in the wrong spot. Let's see if that'll do that. Yep. Come back over here. I'll fill that one. Let's see if I can do the border again. See if the border changes to red this time. I guess not. So we'll change it back to make sure. And then that's just the type. I think that's what that is. Anyway, again, I'll just take the borders out to, well, actually, I'll fill this thing over here. These are all little things. If you think that would help you, if you wanted to make this whole category, red, like some people like to do creative things like that to help them out. Some people think black and white's better because you can see it better. So we'll go back over here, we'll do that, and then since the borders are still there, we'll take those off again. So there you go. I just wanted to show a few of those things real fast and quick. And like I said, if someone likes this or needs to learn Excel or spreadsheets a little bit better, what I've included here is lower, I guess, time spent to learn. I mean, if you can use a calculator, it's kind of basically all that it is. So, alright, have a good day, like, subscribe, all those good things. I'm not sure if I'm only recording the screen, but I think so. Have a good day.